Hari Om. Today I'm going to discuss techniques mentioned in Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. And these techniques are about dealing with different types of thoughts and emotions. Managing our thinking process and subsequently controlling the emotions. It's a very intelligent thinking by Patanjali 2500 years ago. So let's start. Patanjali, in his Yoga Sutras, has said that there are four different types of thoughts. If they keep coming back again and again, they disturb the state of our mind. He has used the word chitta prasadanam. So if you can deal with these four different types of thoughts in a proper manner, then you can make your chitta, that is your mind, your mental state, very positive. And he has given ways to deal with these thoughts. So the four different types of thoughts that if repeated over again and again, then they will disturb your mind. What are these thoughts? First, dukkha, the thoughts that bring stress, cause pain or suffering. If you have one thought again and again, that is causing you pain. Maybe you have done something wrong in the past and you just keep remembering that thought again and again. And that thought is creating pain and suffering in your mind. Oh, why it happened? Why I did that? Oh, why I was making that mistake. And that's going to certainly cause suffering. You may even get into depression. Patanjali says a very simple way of dealing with this thought of dukkha and stop the repetition is the moment the thought comes, oh, I made this mistake and it's quite bad. Develop compassion, empathy. Start with empathy. Oh, it's bad. Even, oh, it was probably not intentional. And even if it was intentional, at that time, you didn't have that understanding. But now you have the understanding. So you deserve the empathy. And the same thing can be repeated for any incidents, even if there is a death. The thought will keep coming over and over again and again. The only way is to develop compassion. The compassion for the person who's dead. And compassion for yourself because you are having those thoughts as well. And this positive emotion of compassion has the power to stop the repetition of these thoughts. So Patanjali has given empathy compassion development as a way to deal with the thoughts that cause dukkha or pain suffering. The other type of thoughts, if keep repeating in our mind, bring negativity, that is sukha, or the thoughts related to desires. If I keep thinking about coffee, then it creates cravings, and that cravings dissipate the mind. We lose the focus. People become addicted because the thoughts keep coming back again and again. But if you learn a technique to stop this thought from repeating, then you probably can stop your cravings and desires as well. And the thought is very simple. The technique is very simple. Patanjali says, do not stop that thought. Just develop an attitude of a friend with that thought. Even if the thought is like of a cigarette, say a friendly, oh yeah, that act of smoking did make me feel a little better in the past. The moment you don't stop that thought, you don't obstruct that thought, you can deal with it easily. You can develop another thought. I'm going to discuss this Pratipaksha Bhavanam, parallel thinking and parallel experience of emotions after this. But then other thought could be, yeah, but that time it was okay. But I know now that this may develop serious health conditions, serious health problems for me. So smoking is not good. But if you stop that thought of smoking, say no, I'm not going to have it, then that thought will become even more powerful, and then the cravings will take over. The third type of thoughts that come are punya, if you have done something good and you have achieved something, or you have done something good and that has resulted in some kind of success. Now if you keep thinking about it, it's just going to increase the ego. The more the ego, powerful the ego, the more problem it is when it comes to flexibility, adaptability. And that ego makes us fragile because I developed certain fixed ideas. What Patanjali says is also interesting. There is every possibility that what I have done as good thing, I will keep repeating that thought because it feeds, it boosts my ego. But then if you just feel happy that, oh, that was good that you did, you're not creating any kind of resistance or you're not stopping it. But by creating a good feeling, you're just letting that thought go without getting repeated in your mind. See, understand, the whole point is you don't want these thoughts to repeat in your mind, because if they keep repeating, they give rise to negative experience. So feeling good about it, feeling happy that you did it, that's it. But stop there. If you don't stop, it's going to increase the ego. And the last type of thought is papa or bad karma. If you've done something bad, and then that action leads to guilt, frustration. And this guilt is very important because it can cause depression. The frustration can make you feel sad all the time. Patanjali said, if you have this thought, just ignore it, because it's a thing of the past. We are not all perfect. We are on our learning journey. You can promise yourself, okay, in future I will not do this, and move on. It's very important to just forget and move on. So Patanjali says upeksha. So he says dukkha, if you have pain and suffering, develop karuna, that is compassion, empathy. If you have sukha or cravings that result in desire, just become friends with these thoughts. If you have done something good and you have achieved something good, then just feel happy. And then if you have done something bad, just ignore that and move on. So these are the ways you can deal with the thoughts and stop them from getting repeated in the mind. Moving now, let's look at another technique that Patanjali has given in his Yoga Sutras, and that is about controlling of emotions. The thoughts, if not controlled, and if there are reaction to the thoughts, it leads to emotions and emotional reactions. Patanjali says that those emotions that you are experiencing, if they are negative for a particular situation or incidents, you can change that emotional reaction as well. I'm going to tell you a study which will highlight this point. A group of volunteers was given a video to watch, and in that video there was an angry man who was shouting and abusing, throwing things here and there. And at the end of that short video, the participants were asked to write their opinion of this man. And you all can guess, everyone wrote that they didn't like him and they felt that he's very angry and they would not like to be friends with him. Then the feedback was collected by the researchers. While all these things were happening, another researcher came in and he just apologized to every participant and he said, friends, we actually forgot to give you complete information about this man. As a matter of fact, I would like to tell you that this man who you saw in the video, this angry man, actually is being cheated by his wife and his best friend in last week. So this reaction, angry reaction of that man is because probably his wife and his friend cheated him. They took away all his money and his wife and friend ran away. And he is left with nothing. Now if you want to change your opinion of this man, you're free to do so. Saying so, that researcher handed over another piece of paper to the participants. Almost everyone changed their opinion of this man. Now what changed their heart? If you look into this study, you will find that it happens to us in our day-to-day life as well. A sudden reaction of anger for our friend who did not show up for the meeting yesterday. And then you come to know that, oh, that friend actually had a little accident. How does that anger or disappointment changes to compassion? It's an emotional shift. It's a quantum shift in the emotional experience from one end to the completely to the other end. So this is exactly what Patanjali means by Pratipaksha Bhavanam. Pratipaksha is opposite, Bhavanam is emotions. So when you experience the negative emotions, you can convert them into positive emotional experience, which is going to bring positive state of your mind. So it's just a different way, alternative way, a different perspective of looking at the same thing. Some event has happened, but you are looking at that event from a different perspective. There is some person that you don't like. You find that person very intimidating or maybe even very selfish. But then you come to know that that person has suffered quite a lot in his life. And that experience of life, that suffering has probably turned him into more self-centered person. Now, next time if you see that person, you may not have a strong negative reaction because your perspective had changed. You're looking at that person from a different point of view. So Patanjali is saying that whenever there is a possibility of you reacting negatively, stop, pause yourself there, try and think from different ways, different perspectives. And this is the technique of parallel thinking. Let me explain this parallel thinking a bit more. These are the steps in this parallel thinking technique. Any event that has happened, develop a different alternative explanation. For example, you got angry and you said few bad words and now you're feeling very bad and guilty about it. Why did I say these wrong words? I'm not really bad. I'm not so angry. But I did get angry. Oh, why it's so bad? Develop a different perspective. Start thinking what has happened before. Probably you got angry at the person because before this incident, you have told this person maybe 3 or 4 times not to repeat that mistake. And because he kept repeating that, you reached your limits, your patience ran out. And that's why you said it. Or maybe last few days, You were very stressed in your job, or maybe you have some health issues going on, and that's made you irritable. These different ways of looking at things will offer you a broad perspective, and you will not pick up. It is not like cherry picking. Only what makes you trigger these emotions, you pick up that explanation and believe in it. No, not like that. Develop alternative explanations. And that alternative explanations might help you better. Once you have this alternative explanation, develop belief in that alternative explanation or thought or attitude. How to develop belief in that alternative thought? Repeat that thought few times. The more you repeat the thought, the more possibility that you will believe in it. And the moment you have belief, your emotional reactions are controlled. If you remember this new thought, alternative explanation or this new thought, every time you have such reaction, then that will be very helpful for you. Say, I think of my failures in the past, and then I have made up my mind that I am a failure. Develop alternative explanation. That failure is in one field. That failure is only limited to one aspect of my life. The other aspects are perfectly fine. So every time you remember this failure, remember this alternative explanation. Oh, this is only just one field. There are other things also. This is a way to control that negative reaction of, say, sadness or depression when you think of your failures. Or you lost a job, you're feeling bad about it. Develop alternative explanation, parallel thinking. You probably lost the job because that job had problems. Or probably you need to move on and do something better than that job. Or if you would still stay in that job, it would cause you stress, which is again not good for your health. There can be any number of alternative explanations for this. And this parallel thinking habit, once developed, will really help you stop your extreme emotional reactions which cause so much of negativity. So I hope you have understood these two techniques. One technique is to control your thoughts, especially repetition of thoughts that leads to negative emotional reactions. And the second technique is about control of the emotional reaction itself by developing a different explanation. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you.